AviationPros.com is the portal website for AMT, Airport Business, and Ground Support Worldwide magazines. Visit daily for breaking news, industry blogs, and insightful articles from our magazine's editorial team. And don't forget to sign up for our publication's daily e-newsletters. It's all at AviationPros.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Aviation Pros podcast. I'm Joe Petrie, Editorial Director for the Endeavor Aviation Group. Halifax Stansted International Airport has long held an important role in the North American aviation system. As one of the largest airports in Atlantic Canada, it serves as a gateway to the world, while its location in one of the fastest growing regions in the country makes it economically vital. Halifax International Airport President and CEO Joyce has overseen recent growth of the airport and is building a strategy with her team to enhance operations for years to come. Her important role was recently honored by the Women's Executive Network, as Carter was named one of 2023's Canada's Most Powerful Women Top 100 Award winner as one of Canada's most powerful CEOs. I recently spoke with Joyce about the industry, the airport, and what the future holds for Halifax and beyond when it comes to technology and aviation. All right, Joyce. Well, thank you very much for speaking with me today. The first question I have for you is tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you into the airport management career.
So that's a question I get a lot. And I'm not a person that grew up thinking that I would always have a career in aviation because I didn't. So I grew up in a small town in Nova Scotia with a family of entrepreneurs. My dad and my mom ran a small business in a small community. So I learned from them the importance of entrepreneurship for sure, but as well the importance of giving back to your community and as well the importance of financial well-being, if I can say it that way. So they really taught me those values early, and as well the importance of education. So I have 3 siblings. I would be the only sibling in my family who went on to complete post-secondary education. And it's funny, when I grew up, I had no idea that I wanted to be involved in aviation for a very small period of time. Probably like most young girls, I thought, I had a tremendous interest in traveling, and I thought it would be pretty cool to be a flight attendant for a while. But I pursued my love of business. So I went on to St. Mary's University and I got my business degree here in Halifax. And I pursued my love in numbers, went on and got my CPA designation. I had various positions in Halifax with companies in real estate. I had quite an interest in real estate as well. And it wasn't until I heard about the transfer of the airport from Transport Canada to the local community that I started to think about what it would be like to work at the airport. So I applied for a position at the time that wasn't the president and CEO, and I was absolutely delighted to get into the industry, get into the business. And as well, it just felt like an absolutely right role for me when I think about sort of looking back and the importance of giving back to the community, the significant economic contributor we are. So all of those aligned to see me join the airport back in 1999, and I haven't looked back since.
And I always love those stories of people that weren't initially into aviation per se, but they end up here. Tell me, what is it about this industry that you love working in it?
For sure, that's an easy one. That's about the people. So the team here at HIAA is pretty fantastic, and I feel quite privileged to work with them. As I mentioned to you a few moments ago, I grew up in a small community, and a lot of times, even though there are a lot of people that work at Halifax Stanfield, I really do have that sense of community. The passion for aviation is seen so much in everyone who works here. And I often say to people who come into the industry for the first time, once you start working in aviation, you're probably never going to get out. It feels like, and it is such a significant role that we play here in the lives of so many. So I love being able to connect people, families and friends, to welcome new visitors. I love to be able to help local businesses, make their business successful. The visitors that come here I spend a lot of time, people often say, you're like the mayor of a town. I spend a lot of time talking about our beautiful province and everything it has to offer, and showing them really what our airport and our city and our province is. So I just love that part. And most importantly, the connection of our people.
Now, the Halifax airport has played a historical role in Canada's aviation system and a very important one. Can you tell us a little bit about the current state of the airport and really what its role is in the region?
We're definitely, it's funny you mentioned because we have played a significant role. So we're definitely Atlantic Canada's largest airport. So we serve as a gateway to our region. We connect to markets across Canada, the US, Mexico, the Caribbean, Europe, and Asia. And we do that both from a passenger and a cargo perspective. We would offer Canada Customs services 24/7, 7 days a week. We also have a US preclearance facility. Lots of people know that, but a huge strategic advantage for our region, and that you can clear preclearance here at Halifax before you continue your journey on into the US. And we have international to domestic connection processing facilities at Halifax Stanfield. So there's over 100 businesses. I love these numbers. It's funny you mentioned the financial sort of background. Numbers tell me a lot. So over 100 businesses and organizations that work here, more than 4,500 people directly on site at Halifax Stanfield. And in 2022, being last year, our economic output to the province of Nova Scotia was $3.4 billion. So we are definitely on our road to recovery post-pandemic. Our current passenger levels are about 85% of what they were pre-pandemic, and we expect to get back to pre-pandemic numbers by no later than 2025. So yes, a significant contributor to the region, and we play a large role in its economic development.
And that's great to hear that you guys are on a good path when it comes to your passenger growth in that post-pandemic world of getting back to quote unquote normal. So tell me, what are some of the improvements your airport is making now to enhance its operations and customer service and, safety, whatever, as we look to the future?
Yeah, so I'll talk just for a moment first on the sort of operations and customer service part. So we're pretty delighted back prior to the pandemic to get enhanced security screening at our pre-board screening areas, which is CATSA Plus. So that was installed in 2019, just before the pandemic, which definitely increases the throughput through security screening. But we also recognize that with the recovery, the traffic isn't the same as it used to be pre-pandemic, for sure, for our airport and for many across the country. So we have travel banks that we didn't have before. And at peak times, we'll actually have higher numbers traveling than we did pre-pandemic through those peak hours of the day. So what I mentioned, we're about 85% in total. However, during peak travel times of the day, we're over 100% of pre-pandemic. So we've done a couple of things to help enhance that. We've introduced, in collaboration with CATSA, again, what's called Verified Traveler. So it is a trusted traveler line that helps you progress as a trusted traveler through the security screening process quicker. We've also introduced virtual queuing, so that allows you to pre-book your time if you're not a trusted traveler, if you don't have an access card or aren't considered to be a trusted traveler, you can still pre-book your time in what is our virtual queuing line, YHZ Express. That will get you to the front of the queue and through that process quicker. I mentioned a few moments ago some of the things that we're doing from a infrastructure perspective, and I did hint to our what we call ITD, so international to domestic connectivity. This is how our passengers who are arriving here from an international destination can connect immediately to their domestic flight. So that area is being expanded as we grow, which is awesome. And we also, during the pandemic, started to work on a new taxiway. So one of our runways, runway 14, needed a taxiway. And so we have started that work during the pandemic, and it is just going to be operational by the end of this month. And what the importance of that is, it helps reduce idling time for aircraft operations, improves overall safety, but as well, it helps reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So it's a win all around in that it also meets some of our environmental objectives.
And now tell me something about the opportunities. There's a lot of growth potential for a community like Halifax and the airport. What does the airport identify as its biggest opportunities to grow and enhance its operations?
When I think about the opportunities for Halifax Stanfield, I always come back to what I call our strategic advantages. So we're located on the eastern seaboard, which means that we can become an alternate hub. And we've worked really hard to develop this hub between Canada and the US and Europe. And so, as technology changes, longer range aircraft, such as the 737 MAX and the 321 XL, are perfect aircraft for our market. They're efficient to run for the airlines, which means it is cheaper for them to run those aircraft, but they're also the perfect location for a hub like Halifax. So we have a huge opportunity there that we're going to continue to grow as traffic comes back. Another opportunities with respect to our cargo. So we are a large cargo market in Halifax Stanfield. And certainly we've done significant cargo development over the last 10 years. During the pandemic, we opened our air cargo logistics park and it is already fully leased. So we do have one more airside lot that's available for leasing for cargo. And a fact that people might not know, and I mentioned how much I love numbers, is that Halifax Stanfield is the number one exporter of seafood in Canada. And so as exports in our province continue to grow, in particular live lobster, we also want to be ready and want to have our facility available to support the growth in the community. So for sure, cargo is another opportunity for us. And then the last thing I'll mention is just our opportunity to continue to grow our passenger volumes. You may not be aware that Halifax is set to be the fastest growing city in Canada in 2023. And so when we think about tourism, when we think about VFR traffic, when we think about immigration, which is a large part of why those numbers are growing, we want to make sure that as an airport, we're absolutely ready to support that growth. We provide the services so people can connect to the rest of their family and friends and co-workers across the country and around North America and into Europe. And so we want to continue to grow, and a huge opportunity for us, as I mentioned, with the size aircraft, appropriately sized aircraft, to grow that market as well. So we truly see ourselves as being here to support the economic growth of our community in all of those areas.
Absolutely. That's it definitely seems like it's ringing true on all those areas. So I guess the big question I have for you then is, technology is playing a bigger role in aviation all around, especially when it comes to airport operations. How is Halifax embracing technology to, improve its operations or the passenger experience as a whole?
You're right. Technology has certainly come to the forefront. I mean, it was prior to the pandemic, but the pandemic, in particular, to enhance the passenger experience and operational efficiency, has really brought technology and innovation to the forefront for our industry. And you may not know, we've certainly been recognized at Halifax Stanfield for being an innovator in the global airport industry. So we were the first airport in North America to offer self-serve bag drop system for all of our passengers. So we were pretty delighted to do that several years ago. But we're also working right now on something that's kind of unique that I'll highlight for your listeners. That's available on our website. You can actually look and see more detail about this right now. But everyone's talking about AI and technology and what it can do. So we're working with a company called Asaya, and they are working with us to help improve the efficiency of aircraft turnarounds and de-icing. So it's a small sort of scale operation whereby we track the actual amount of time it takes for all processes involved in aircraft turnaround and de-icing. And the insights help us then share that data with our partners and help inform not only us but them on how we can look at improving the aspects of each of those operational initiatives going forward. So when you think about some of the things that may happen is as we look at the passenger experience and see the various components that, just take bags as an example, bags coming off of the aircraft, if we can identify through AI ways to improve that, then it's definitely something that we're very interested in because it links to a better passenger experience, but as well our partners are very interested in for the same reason, not only for passenger experience, but for, real-time savings in turnaround time of aircraft. So that's a really exciting initiative for us that we're having tremendous support with our partners on exploring.
That is very exciting to see somebody be an early adopter, as it were, for AI on the ramp, and it's awesome that you guys are able to undertake that now, to recognize the opportunity that holds.
I
So,
agree.
with that in mind, tell me, what are some of the main goals you have as the CEO of your airport, going forward, to make sure that you're able to accomplish as an organization going forward?
Yeah, so very much laser focused on getting us through recovery. As I mentioned, we're not quite there yet. So definitely laser focused as a goal today to get us back to our pre-pandemic service levels, which, as I mentioned, we expect to be complete by 2025. With that in mind, if you think about some of the other things that maybe we're laser focused on, and we did a new strategic plan through the pandemic, so these came out loud and clear in 2022 as being important to us, to our employees, and to our community. So we continue to look at customer service, and that includes improving our accessibility and taken the steps that's really important to increase accessibility at our airport. We are Rick Hansen certified right now, but we can do better and we want to do better. We also want to take significant steps to connect us back to our Indigenous roots. And you can see some of the initiatives in the terminal building that make us more inclusive and make us more welcoming for all. I mentioned our environmental footprint, and definitely, our goal to get to net carbon zero emissions by 2050 is really important to us. So we are working hard on that. And as well, the seafood and the export that I mentioned, our status as the number one exporter is really important to us and to our community. So, and it's also, I should mention, it's also really important to our rural communities. Fishers around the province rely on us to get their product to market around the world and to get it quick and to get it there fresh. And so we want to work hard to maintain that. And you'll see cargo development and growth as a goal in our long-term plan as well. So those are kind of the 3 to 4 top highlights for us, for sure.
Well, they certainly seem to be in good hands, because one of the things that I found interesting is the recent honor that you were named one of the most powerful women in Canada. Tell me a little bit about that honor.
That is quite an honor. You're absolutely right. So yes, I was recognized very recently as one of Canada's most powerful women, and that's in the powerful CEOs category. So I'm very grateful to the Women's Executive Network for that acknowledgement. I'm just so deeply moved by that. I have to say it is a real testament of the efforts of our team. Right. So seldom can you do something like that alone. I do feel that this acknowledgement and honor is more about them than it is about me, without a doubt. And you may say, well, why is that? It is certainly an award that is bestowed on me, but it's absolutely because I very much recognize, when I think back on my career and think about how I got to where I'm at today, that wouldn't have been possible without the great support of all of the people around me. We have an incredible team at HIAA. I mentioned the people come first. They absolutely do. And so I'm very impacted and influenced by the great people I work with over my career. And I would not be where I'm at today and in a position to receive such a significant award, not only for myself, but for our organization, for our city, for our province, without the support I've had along the way. So thank you for noting that. It is quite an honor.
Absolutely. And it's great to see, you get an honor like that, especially too for a category like CEO, where oftentimes that could be a position that gets overlooked when it comes to an airport. And I
Yeah.
think it shows a testament of when that the world is recognizing the true leadership we're seeing in the airport management world.
Yeah, that's really well put. People often, when I meet people and they don't know much about airports, when they ask me what I do and I tell them, they're like, "Oh, airports have a CEO. Explain to me, what you do." So you're absolutely right. That's quite an honor.
hmm And tell me, as CEO, what leadership strategies have you found to be most effective in navigating the complexities of the aviation industry?
Well, that's a question I might have answered differently prior to the pandemic, but I have to say, um, communication is key. And so I have an awesome communications team here who guides me every day. But not only communication, within our organization, when you think about one of the most important attributes of a leader is to be able to communicate to your peers. So I spend a lot of time in the industry, listening to the perspectives of my peers. I sit on the Canadian Airports Council, on the North American Airports Council, and I've just finished a term on the World Airports Council. So there's nothing like listening to your peers to see how things are done different, share how you do them, and to learn from them. That communication is ongoing for sure. Communication with our partners. So it's a complex industry that we work in. I just mentioned, a few initiatives we have underway. And so ensuring that we are really clear in communicating what we want to achieve and how we want to achieve it with our airlines and the airport businesses that are here and our government and tourism officials is really important. And certainly last but not least is communication with our employees. As you just mentioned, the award, I definitely would not receive something like that without the great support of the team here at HIAA. And I spend a lot of time, communicating with them because they're the heart and soul of what we do every day. And I'll give a shout out just for one example of that is we launched through the pandemic what we call airtime sessions with Joyce. And so we had to do them at the time because we couldn't have our all inclusive big town hall meetings. You just were not permitted to gather during the pandemic. So we started these smaller group sessions in person if we were allowed, but if not, we did them remotely. And they have become something that we have instituted and they complement our communication strategy with our employees. So I go out twice a year and I meet in small groups with all our employees. And that's just so impactful to me. I get to hear firsthand what some of the challenges are, but as well to them because they can hear from me as to what the priorities of Halifax Stanfield are and get to ask questions, right? They get to ask questions, whatever's on their mind. So I just keep coming back to communication and how it's been really important to me as I lead this organization through the times, the good, the bad, and the ugly, as some like to say. So certainly that's been important.
Absolutely. And looking ahead, my last question for you today, there's been a lot of accomplishments. There's still a lot of growth that's coming to Halifax. Tell me, where do you want to see the airport and its role in the Canadian aviation system in 10 years?
Yeah, so that's a really important question. And I think about what our vision may be looking forward, what's the future, of our organization. So we definitely do a lot of planning. I mentioned we just did a 5-year strategic plan in the middle of the pandemic, and it's actually proven to play out exactly as we thought. So we want to inspire people. We want to inspire our partners. We actually want to be Canada's best gateway airport. And I know that's a huge vision to have, but we know we can get there. We know we won't be the largest airport in Canada, but we can be the best. And so our priorities are around our people. They're around our sustainable future. They're around these Stanfield, what we call the Stanfield experience that our customers have here. And we take that and we develop from that our 20-year master plan, our 10-year capital and financial plan, our 5-year plan, as I just mentioned, and our annual plan. And all of that sees us on this path to become what we refer to as Canada's best gateway airport. So you can see lots of strategies under that help us get there. The development, some of the things we just talked about, like ITD and looking at our gates and our bag handling and all of that. But it is all about what we offer to our community and to everyone who comes through our facility is a goal to be the best gateway airport in Canada. That's pretty important to us, and everyone really can get behind that.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Joyce. I really appreciate your time today. I'm very excited to keep an eye on Halifax and see how you and your leadership team are able to see things continue to grow there.
Thank you so much, Joe. It's been a pleasure chatting with you today. Take care.
Thanks again for listening to today's podcast. For all the most important information in airport management, make sure to subscribe to the Airport Business Daily newsletter and check out AviationPros.com, the official home of airport business. I'm Joe Petrie. We'll catch you next time.